G'day folks, it's time for us to refurbish this little bed which has been very handy over the last 2 or 3 years. We do have a little lemon myrtle tree in here, but the roots are starting to expose. The soil is starting to get a little bit gutless, so we're just going to remove these onions and dry them out. So these onions, they're very small, but they're most powerful in their oils and essences. So I'll just pop these over here just to dry out. And we're also going to remove these. I was hoping that they'd reseed and pop up in here. But as yet, we've had no luck. These are about 3 years old, at least. And we ended up just buying them from supermarkets, and they're starting to get a bit old and tired now, but we were using the leaves and the stems, and it was fine. It was more than enough for 2 people. There was only half a dozen. So it's this bed is past its best, and it's time to refresh. So yeah, that's just a 3-year-old plant here. It's a little bit woody, but there are still a few worms in here, which is always a good sign. So we'll just clear this out. And also there's been an ingress of there's a little worm there, little tacker, nothing big or strong, but the important thing is we still have worms, and there's a few little weeds in here which I will dig out and remove. So lots of fibrous tree roots and things.
Spring onion roots.
And the spring onions, yeah. So we'll get rid of all the weeds and give a bit of a dig up and a refurbish. And then it's very dry. I have watered it at least 5 times a week. A little bit of basil left, but it's suffering as well. Then what I'm going to do, I'm going to put in some manures as a base, and then I'll put in some compost on top. So we've ended up just having a couple of spare bananas. They're good for potassium, so I've just dug a little hole in here in the centre of this half, and it'll be worm food and food for the microbes. And what the garden needs is a little bit of water, so I've got a bit of spare water here. A bag of blended manures, and this will just help the garden, this little bed, over the next 12 months. You don't need a lot in here, but certainly a few inches just to cover, and that'll add new life to this little kitchen garden bed. And then on top of that, I'll put on some compost, and I'll water this in as well. We need more water, and then we'll put the compost on top. We'll let it sit for a day or 3, and then we'll think about what we'll put in here next. So we've ended up putting in the blended cow manure, which was with sheep and chicken. So it makes a nice mix, and on top of that is just compostable material, which is, in this case, was shop bought, and then I've just put a small handful of blood and bone on the top. Now the mixture's still not quite finished. I'm going to put a layer of mulch on top and water that in, and then we'll let the bed sit until we're ready to plant whatever. So just to recap, we took out the onions, the spring onions, we dug around, we've taken out all the weeds that we can see, we put in some blended manures, about that thick, and then on top of that we've put compost, put a handful of blood and bone just to give it a kick along when we eventually plant, and then we've put on a little bit of mulch, not a great amount, and I've watered that with fish emulsion. So we let it sit for a day or two, and even when I plant, I may even cover it with more soil and let this just rot down. That's my thinking at this stage, but it will drop perhaps that much over the next month. It will drop back down, but we're undecided. The problem with this little bed is that the possums run along here, and so we have to have something that possums don't eat. So we're just going to pull out the rest of the beetroot that are in here. Some of them are quite shaded, so we've taken out most of the big ones over the last month or so. So we're just going to clean this bed up a bit. There's two types of beetroot. There's a round one, like this one. Very dry in here. It's amazing. And then there's the longer carrot type beetroot as well.
And just a quick update on the mulberry tree that Bill divided and dug up and divided and put into 2 pots. They're doing really well.